You're listening to Short History Shorts audio, where history speaks louder than images. Before Athens became the birthplace of democracy, it was a city of kings, nobles, and blood feuds. Its path to becoming a beacon of political experimentation was anything but peaceful or linear. The mythic origins of Athens reach deep into the mists of Bronze Age storytelling. According to legend, the city was named after the goddess Athena, who won a divine contest against Poseidon by gifting the olive tree to the people. From its earliest days, Athens saw itself as divinely chosen, a special place where gods, heroes, and mortals shaped a shared destiny. But in reality, early Athens was a warrior aristocracy. Kings gave way to powerful clans, and by 700 BC, the Eupatridae, well-born noble families, held most of the power, owning land, controlling religious rites, and dominating justice. In these early centuries, Athens was like many other Greek polis. It had an assembly, yes, but it was weak. It had a council of elders, but power lay with a few. Social divisions were deep. As the population grew and trade expanded, economic tensions intensified. Small farmers often fell into debt slavery, sold into servitude to pay what they owed. At the top, a few oligarchs grew richer, while the poor, many of whom had served in the phalanx as hoplites, found themselves disenfranchised and desperate. Conflict seemed inevitable. Into this turmoil stepped one of the most pivotal figures in Greek political history, Solon. Around 594 BC, Solon was appointed archon, a kind of chief magistrate, and was granted extraordinary powers to reform the city and avert civil war. He canceled debts, banned debt slavery, and reorganized the citizen body based on wealth rather than noble birth. This opened up new political opportunities for non-aristocrats. Solon also established a new court system and a council of 400 to help advise the assembly. But crucially, he refused to become a tyrant or king, choosing instead to resign after his reforms and leave Athens to manage its own political evolution. His reforms didn't solve everything, but they laid the groundwork for a more inclusive civic structure. Then came tyranny, not of the cruel, despotic kind we imagine today, but of a more complex and populist variety. In 546 BC, Pisistratus seized power in a coup, but he ruled with a careful blend of religious tradition, populist flair, and economic stimulus. He reduced taxes on the poor, beautified Athens with temples and public works, and helped stabilize the countryside. His sons, however, Hippias and Hipparchus, proved less moderate. After Hipparchus was assassinated and Hippias grew paranoid and cruel, the Athenians revolted and expelled the tyrants with help from Sparta. What followed was not a return to oligarchy, but something unprecedented. In 508 BC, a noble named Cleisthenes introduced sweeping reforms that effectively created the first known democracy. He broke the power of traditional clans by reorganizing Athens into 10 new tribes, each mixing citizens from the city, coast, and inland regions. This created a new sense of unity, deliberately designed to weaken aristocratic control. He expanded the council from 400 to 500 members and gave real legislative power to the assembly, where any citizen could speak. The courts were open to broader participation, and magistrates were often chosen by lot, not election, to ensure fairness. This wasn't democracy as we understand it today. Only adult male citizens could vote. No women, no slaves, and no foreigners. But for its time, it was radical. The very idea that ordinary people, not kings, not gods, not nobles, could govern themselves was revolutionary. What made Athenian democracy work was its combination of institutions and ideology. Citizens felt a duty to participate. Service in the assembly, on juries, or as magistrates wasn't just a right, it was a responsibility. There were checks and balances, like ostracism, where the public could vote to exile a citizen deemed dangerous to the state. Wealth still mattered, especially in military service, but the door to influence had been pried open. Democracy gave Athens a dynamic energy. Freed from elite control, the city flourished in trade, naval strength, and cultural production. It attracted thinkers, artists, and builders. Pericles, in the mid-5th century BC, expanded democratic access further by paying citizens for jury service and civic participation. This allowed even the poorest Athenians to serve in public life. Under Pericles, the Athenian assembly voted on war, peace, taxes, and treaties. The city became both a cultural and political superpower. But democracy also had flaws. Mob rule, demagoguery, and poor strategic decisions like the Sicilian expedition revealed its darker side. Nevertheless, Athens remained a model for participatory government long after its empire crumbled. It's important to remember that this wasn't a smooth or inevitable progression. Each step, from Solon's reforms to Cleisthenes' tribal realignment to Pericles' pay-for-service policies, faced fierce resistance. At every stage, the threat of tyranny, oligarchy, or civil war loomed. But the Athenians kept pushing the idea that citizens, not elites, should govern. It was fragile. It was flawed, but it was theirs. And that ownership gave Athenian democracy a lasting impact far beyond the Aegean. When philosophers like Socrates questioned it, when playwrights like Aristophanes mocked it, when enemies like Sparta crushed it, democracy survived in memory and myth. Later republics, from Rome to the modern West, would look back on Athens as the birthplace of a radical idea, that political power belongs not to the few, but to the many. From myth to monarchy, tyranny to revolution, Athens charted a path that would change the world. And it began not with war or conquest, but with the simple question, who should rule?